fading away towards my reflection, like the ripples on the surface of an ocean.
Kia ora koutou katoa. My name is Sharyne Lewis. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, dancer, movement coach and arts educator. I'd like to acknowledge the ancestors and elders and people of this land from Turrbal and Jagera peoples in Brisbane, and also from Aotearoa, New Zealand, from the past, present and emerging. I'd like to thank ICEA for the opportunity to present this paper today, Awhi World and the Awhi Artist Incubator Project, and lastly to Creative New Zealand for their support and funding to be able to present to you today. My paper is called Creative Technologies and Dance Drawing Ecologies. Today I'll be talking with you about my recent work, Portals to Venus. So first of all, I'd like to ask, so how do you dance a kala lily? That's what I've discovered over this past year and will share with you today. To dance a kala lily in my recent multidisciplinary pilot project, Portals to Venus, meant interweaving the interrelationships between creative technology, dance performance, and place ecologies. Current manifestations of this practice-led research include digital dance drawing, dance notation, sound scores, and choreographic development using immersive technology-enabled performance surrounding the theme of the kala lily. A year ago, I embarked on a journey with Awhi World, a creative technologies innovation studio and the capacity building project called the Awhi Artist Incubator. This is based in Te Tai Tokoro, New Zealand. Awhi in te reo Māori means to care for, embrace and nurture others. This has certainly been the case for my arts practice, providing me with an opportunity to participate in upskilling my creative technologies and assisting in developing innovative art technologies within my practice. Portals to Venus is a pilot project that was recently presented as part of the Awhi World Alternate Reality Gardening Lab in 2024 in May of this year. It was presented in Whangarei, New Zealand. So digital dance drawing and choreographic convergence. This is what I've recently been investigating in my practice, and combining my two main disciplines, performing arts and visual arts, by investigating digital artifacts that use interactive installation for performance and simultaneously intertwining choreographic process into an immersive experience for the basis of my current research. The focus of Portals to Venus was the convergence of digitizing my two main disciplines, performing arts and fine arts, specifically drawing, using these creative technologies such as Isadora, Arduino, MIDI and projection mapping, and lastly using sensors to perform live dance performance, or using forms that interrelate with spatio-temporal relationships of movement, choreography, digital drawing and fine art works. The interfaces between creative technology, dance performance and place ecologies entwine with dance notation and digital drawing through choreography and movement mapping. Portals to Venus explores this concept of the kala lily as a symbol of the death and rebirth of the self, using the Greek story surrounding the kala lily as a conceptual narrative to develop choreographic prompts in relationship to the digital dance drawing or kala lilies as a choreographic score and artwork. The origins of the Greek myth were based around the story of the kala lily flowers. The kala lily Greek myth talks about a scandalous idea or a scandalous act from Zeus, the god Zeus, and where he tricked his wife Hera into feeding the baby Hercules, who was a half blood, half god and half human. And when Hera discovered this, she pulled Hercules off her breast from breastfeeding, and the milk spilled into the sky and formed the Milky Way. The goddess Venus, the goddess of beauty and also seen sometimes as love, saw this, and as the milk fell to the earth, she became jealous of Hercules' innocence, purity, and beauty, and cursed the milk as it fell to earth and turned them into colour lilies. So dance ecologies, this is something that I would like to discuss in relationship to dance notation, and discuss the colour lily and the choreographic scores as interactive drawings. So dance ecologies, what happens when we leave imprints in space, when we duplicate or multiply ourselves into infinity? I call this the mirror effect. However, this could also be related back into a choreographic structure, or using choreographic phrases and mirroring movements in dance. My practice is deeply embedded in the interrelationships between dance, site, place, history, and time. Dance ecology has a deep connections to the place and environment in which one dances, which also refers to one's body as an inner landscape. Site-specific performance and mapping movement using technology has been a large part of my career as an artist and dance facilitator. The interrelationships between land and the body is a long-standing theme with my practice for over 20 years. Often questioning the traces of human impact on our environment and effects of colonization and consumerism, specifically looking at sustainability and the landmarks and imprints in the places we inhabit. In Māori and in many indigenous cultures, the body and landscape are deeply entwined in the mind, body and soul in connection to place. The ecology of dance in a specific place or space has new paradigm shifts when it comes to the digitization of dance. This interconnectedness between people, places and spaces is deeply infused in the fascia, the bones and the cells of our body. As much as technology can develop the way we live, it cannot replace the absolute need for human connection, for the elements of nature to soothe the nervous system and calm the electromagnetic connectivity of our brain. It is within nature and in place we find meaning, and we can connect deeply to the everywhen. This is where light, time and place and space hold resonance with the duality of the body and in nature. This interconnectedness and resonance and the multiplication of the self, when digitized, becomes an electromagnetic pulse within the body, within nature, and arguably is suspended as a portal in outer space and in time itself. Movement as a universal language. Movement is a universal language in which we all speak, traversing digital dance drawings as fine artworks that embed the choreographic process using Dr. Guest's language of movement, which you'll see on the screen here in this dance notation slide on the right hand side, is based on the Barnes dance notation methods, which you'll see on the bottom right hand corner and also on the left here, looking at pathways through space. The closest notation that integrates light, visuals and movement with music is the godfather of multimedia himself, Awhi Nicolai. And I hope to move to the next slide here, and hopefully we'll see Awhi Nicolai's choroscript, which is here on the right. So you'll see these two slides based on dance notation using shape, form, structure, and place or time. It relates to the interconnectedness and mapping of topographical maps and landscapes that we may see in city planning, or if we were mapping the body physically and looking at the veins, the musculature or layers of muscle. And Joan Skinner and Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen often look at this process and use somatic dance or Joan Skinner releasing technique to describe the body as, or the inner landscape of the body, and I feel this traverses the outer landscape also, and they two meet together. Dance in the body and movement mapping connects to the art of sculpting space through choreographic scores and the digital dance drawings. The symbols, shapes and forms, drawing and structure and choreographic processes for making work, such as performance and digital dance drawing itself, leaves traces and resonance through the body, the muscle memory and the physical spaces on land, through the mark making of drawing and in the digital multiplication of the self in the ether. So how we leave traces in the digital space and also a resonance in the landscape by our presence in the landscape really becomes an imminent way of showing up physically, but also using that mirror effect of multiplying ourselves again and again in the ether and the digitization of ourselves and the versions of ourselves we actually present. Each digital dance drawing or choreographic score is the basis for mapping the structure of the dance and generating movement motifs and sequences that form a movement conversation. Similar to that of a jazz musician, each person can read each score differently and create a new movement sequence based on the same image. This multitude of layers or interpretation and digitization of the scores is looped through space and time like the cycles of nature. The ecology of dance and the choreographic processes form deeper relationships into space and place through the ethereal perception of time and the spaces in which technologies inhabit our physical world. Site-specific dance and the digital dance scores generate two worlds, the world of the present time and the spatiotemporal, where time and space and data analysis of a movement or memory resonate in the space of what was, what is, and the now. This resonance extends into the multitude of layers of time, space, place, and the self, and the perceptions of a physical, spiritual, and alternate realities or versions of oneself. Portals are likened to transporters and transformers, where each holds an enormous amount of energy, similar to that of our chakra points or meridian lines, and the resonance of the spirit and the energy in the land, and the mapping of the body and the process, and describing the energy of the body or the energy of the landscape. Humans leave traces of presence in the landscape and in digital spaces in which ecologies of place, space and time merge. Portals to Venus generates a discourse between the multiple layers of the self. The suspension and the juxtaposition of the self are projected into and captured in time. This language is also mirrored in the choreographic devices and the language of dance. The portal scene of the Hatia River, which I hope to show you. I'm just going to jump through these slides here and have a little look. So you'll see the language of dance on the left here, the choreographic scores, this choreographic score 2, and you'll see the multitude or the multidisciplinary approach of the analog, the physical drawing, the digital space, the physical space, and the merging of them all within my practice. Moving to the next slide. This is my choreographic score, which looks at the language of dance and discusses the choreographic processes and developing the movement for Portals to Venus. You'll see on the left here the choreographic notes for a motif and using repetition and the colour lily flowers, which is a spiral motif, and it leads to a climatic point or layers in movement in space. On the left hand side you'll look at choreographic devices and provocations such as inversion, which is an upside down movement or a movement repeated in the same way but it's inverted, and using augmentation, so making movements larger, connecting and finding the transitions for travelling and pathways, and creating images within the actual work itself, so overlaying projections. You'll see in the centre here for the choreographic score 2, it discusses looks at the language of dance and what the movements actually tell me to do. So when I look at this score in Portals to Venus, I can actually read the drawing as a fine artwork, but also as a instructional or map, which you'll see down below, the V sections which are inverted up and down, moving towards and moving away, and then you'll see the spirals which we were talking about before, just looking at the inversion, and then across the right hand side there's a balance or a spring action with a long kind of needle, a symbol. Just moving to the next slide. This is the same drawing without all the choreographic scores. This is score 3, which uses less of the symbology from the language of movement from Dr. Guest or Rudolf Laban. However, this score is more sort of embedded, so you can, and abstracted, so the symbols are kind of embedded within the image and can still be read as a choreographic score. So this is the Isadora program which I've been using to develop some of the technology and present Portals to Venus, and it leads back into the Hatia River, which you'll see on the right hand side here with score 3, and it looks at the overlaying of images from still images, video, the drawings themselves, and also sound, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So looking at the merging of technologies. So merging of technologies. Let's discuss a little bit about sound and AI and this overlaying, and we'll come to the Hatia River. So using Arduino, the MIDI, Isadora and sensors. AI and Suno particularly have been two things that I've been developing my work with. This has led into finding this collaboration between AI and the idea of using musicians, and looking at the idea of creating a loop pedal or generating an interplay between using AI as a tool that also enhance parts of the performance and have an interactive component between the performer, the dancer, sensors, AI, and perhaps a live musician, which in this particular performance as a pilot performance wasn't included as a live musician. What I have done instead is used AI to help me write the AI to produce the music. I've written all of the lyrics for using in Suno. You can't replicate anyone's music or original music. You have to use something that's actually generated on the spot. It could be based on a prompt that is developed from a piece of writing that has been worked, or use ChatGPT to enhance what you've created based on your verse that you might have written, and then ask them to write a song. In this particular case, I've used AI to help me write a theme tune based around the Greek myth, which I've recently just talked about in this talk, and used as a basis for creating a narrative that fed through the whole work. It then was fed into a program which you'll see here. It uses Arduino and MIDI. MIDI is a sound program that is coded into Arduino, and they work together. So I had some sensors, sensor-based map on the floor. The sensors were triggered by pressure. I was able to change each scene based on the choreographic mapping of the floor, and using the language of movement or the choreographic scores and digital dance drawings to then map out what the performance would look like on stage. And it gave me more autonomy over the operations of my performance, so that I could potentially take this out into a larger open air stage and be able to operate it myself rather than having a technician or an operator on hand. I, in this case, had a backup technician and lighting operator to help me with lighting, and as this is a pilot project, it was helpful to have that behind the scenes, although not necessarily needed. So I'm going to discuss this based on my notes. Coming back to my notes here. So Portals to Venus is a multidisciplinary dance pilot project that explores performing arts technologies and integrates the use of innovative programs that streamline the operations of performance production. Isadora, named after the famous Isadora Duncan, the mother of modern dance, is a tool for combining interactive sound, video, still image and projection mapping with live performance and sensor-based triggers with Arduino and MIDI. This is not a new technology program, however the integration of newer technologies such as AI and sound generation has provided new interfaces within my work. Sound operation has traditionally been operated by a performing arts technician. And these pressure sensors are an inherent choreographic structure that added another layer within the performance of Portals to Venus, creating an innovative stage map that changes each scene as part of the dance and then programmed into using Arduino and MIDI, placed under the vinyl floor, which you'll see on your right hand side. And the dancer and performer triggers each scene in Isadora, changing the visuals and sound. The choreographic scores or digital dance drawings were part of this map, where the colour lilies simultaneously were choreographic scores that interplay with the video projections of a time capsule tunnel, which was filmed at the Kori Gardens in Whangarei. I'll just see if I've got that slide. This is a stage map which you'll see here, and you'll see the technical operator's desk on the left, and I'll talk a little bit more about how this stage map works. So this approach to performance has given me autonomy as a performer, providing a way of presenting a multimedia dance performance that's multi-layered, immersive, and is emerging site-specific dance video as a pre-recorded state and scene with live dance. All choreography that has been generated is based on the digital dance drawings or colourly dance choreographic scores in relationship to the place and site and environment. and was also projected during the live performance into the mirrors, and then mirrored back onto the walls of the dance studio that I was performing in, and also then reflected onto the ceiling and wall beneath and above. This multi-layered convergence of art forms creates a conversation revealing some of the magic of dance, where the process of choreography becomes as important as the artwork itself. I'm going to move through and have a look at some of the images from Portals to Venus and discuss a little bit about the Hatia River. This is scene 1. Where I am opening the show, and it has the Hatia River showing above. The Hatia River is at the foothill of a very famous landmark in New Zealand called Parihaka. Parihaka is known for its amazing pā, which once was at the top of the mountain. A pā was a Māori land site and often was used for gathering or sometimes seeing potential enemies coming. It's also known for New Zealand land wars, and it was often a very dangerous place in our New Zealand history to be, and could be seen as a way of a very contested way of sort of owning whangarei. The Hatia River was a transporter, or would create a pathway for bringing goods in and out of whangarei. This slide here demonstrates the two scores and how they've been integrated and then re-shown in the performance. So they've been projected into the mirror. You'll see on the left hand side, the top left, this is score 1, the colour lilies projected into the mirror and then also onto me, and repeated again and again. They're projected into twill, and then again on the right hand side down below you'll see the choreographic score 2, which I showed earlier, and this is multiplied again and again. This is the Portals to Venus tunnel, so creating the multiplicities of the self. I have to touch on this a little bit further and talk about the symbology of the kala lily, and how the kala lily can be seen, or has been traditionally used for funerals, weddings, and can be seen as a portal or the death and rebirth of the self, which really forms the basis or the conceptual foundation for building the project Portals to Venus, and developing the choreographic scores based on kala lilies as a theme throughout my work. The portal itself is kind of creating this multiplicity of time and space and place, and allowed the performer to present itself in a live or virtual replication in the ether, or the digitization of time and the digitization of the body in dance. You'll see in the video here how this transpires.
The river flows beside me, leading away towards my reflection, like the ripples on the surface of an ocean. The everglow arches into the center of my being. I look to the new day, awakening, unfurl my flesh into space, suspended in time. You spiral and fall.
So you'll see that the video change from one scene to another. This is an example of the sensor-based technology and the stage mapping. So transforming from the portal itself into the choreographic score 2, or the Kalalali score, and this multiplication of the Kalalali representing the multitude of versions of ourselves. There is another video here which discusses the transformation of the self through the death and rebirth, and creates a sense of place and time as a phoenix, perhaps exporting ourselves into another place. So here is a still from the tunnel. It shows a little bit of the lighting and creates this sense of replication. This is the Phoenix scene, which comes up to the climax of Portals to Venus. These will soon be exhibited at the Quarry Arts Centre for the Studio Holders exhibition, and will demonstrate some of the process behind Portals to Venus as a show and also as fine artworks themselves. There is one more short clip here and a soundtrack I'd like to play you, so you can see another couple of scenes, and then I'll sum up for our talk today. The scene here is based on the Hatia River and overlays score 3. This is the final scene of the show. It really amplifies the layering, a multitude of layers.
Like the catalyst standing, looking to the rising sun, looking to the rising sun. I'm singing to this light illuminates my skin.
This is a still from the final scene of the show, which you've just seen in the video, Kalalali score 3, and it really demonstrates my work and the multitude of layers as a multimedia dance project. It also really highlights the Kalalalis and the layering of the live, the virtual, the digitization of the self, and this multitude or conceptualization of the Kalalali. I'd like to thank you for attending my talk today, and I also want to thank Awhi World and the Awhi Artist Incubator. Thank you so much for the opportunity with ICEA to be able to speak with you today. If you'd like to know any more about my work, you're welcome to have a look at my link tree on the right hand side here, or contact me by email. It's an honour to be able to speak with you today, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Kia ora.